Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're joining me for my 2023 bullet journal setup. This is gonna be a really fun one with a lot of creative touch door ideas, and a lot of the doodles are gonna be really simple so that it's something that you can also try in your bullet journal even if you're just a complete beginner. For my 2023 bullet journal setup, I'm going to be using my A5 bullet journal from Kuma Stationery. I really love this one because it has some really thick pages, so I never have to worry about ghosting or bleeding in any of my pages. And overall, I really love all of the beautiful golden details at the edges of the paper and even on the cover itself. And I was so impressed with how high quality this bullet journal was considering how affordable it was. And if you want to save even more on your bullet journal, I have an affiliate code for the discount in the description down below. Now, the cover page is going to be something that is quite simple, that is really easy for any bullet journal beginner, so you can definitely recreate this in your bullet journal as well. What I'm going to do is start off by drawing two squares, one that is smaller inside a bigger one, and this is going to create kind of like a window frame, and inside this we're going to draw some really fluffy clouds. I'm also going to leave a corner of the window empty, and this is where I'm going to write 23 using the stencils to mark the year 2023. Now, if you're new to bullet journaling and this is the first time that you're setting up a brand new notebook, if ever you're feeling scared to draw on your first page, something that I really like to do is just start off all of my doodles in pencil. That way you can get a feel on how it looks, and if you don't like it, you can always erase it and start over with a brand new design. I also love to use really simple tools like stencils to really help me get the look that I want, even if I'm not feeling super confident with my lettering, and I can still really get the perfect look. And you can also find a lot of affordable stencils out there. I got this one from AliExpress for less than $2, and I literally use it in so many of my bullet journal setups. So if you're someone that's new to bullet journaling and you want to practice your lettering, then stencils can be a really great way for you to just get started. Now that we got the window set up, I'm also going to fill it in with some little cloud doodles inside the clouds. Now, I really want to give it more of a cartoonish look, so you can see that I'm really varying the size of the clouds. And this design is super simple. You don't even have to be good at drawing to recreate something like this. All you want to do is just play around with different little bumps. You can have one that is super wide, super skinny, super long, or super short, and that's going to create a really nice variety of clouds in your bullet journal cover page. And to be honest with you guys, this cover page is actually something that is really outside of my comfort zone. I typically feel that coloring wasn't really my strong suit, and I was always really scared to use a lot of color in my bullet journal. But in 2023, I really want to challenge myself to go out of my comfort zone a little bit more. So I'm going to try to experiment with more colors instead of just sticking to my neutral colors in my bullet journal setups. So even if you are new to bullet journaling, just know that we're all in this creative journey together. We're all gonna have our own sets of strengths and weaknesses, but it's all about having fun, experimenting, and discovering what we like and what we don't like along the way. And I'm curious to hear more about your bullet journal journey in the comments down below. Are you completely brand new, or has it been something that you've been doing for a long time? And if you're completely new to bullet journaling and you have any questions about it, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure that you're definitely not alone, and we're all here to help each other out. And speaking of going out of our comfort zone, something that we're gonna do for our next page in our bullet journal setup is to also create some Dutch doors. Now, a Dutch door in your bullet journal means that you're gonna cut a piece of the page in your bullet journal, and this is gonna be able to help you reveal the pages that is underneath it. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why you might want to create a Dutch door in your bullet journal. Some examples could be if you want to save some time in setting up your bullet journal, and so you can have a section of your bullet journal that is visible even when you're flipping the pages. But on another hand, you can also use it to create some really fun designs, which is what we're going to do here for our future log setup. So basically, what I really want to do here is cut the edges of the pages to create a mini booklet inside my bullet journal, and that's because my future log is going to take me more than one page, and so I really wanted to have a really cohesive feel throughout the 3 pages of this future log. And on the side of the pages, I'm also going to cut out a little cloud-shaped tabs, and this is going to look really nice when they're all laying on top of each other. It's going to look like a layer of clouds sitting on top of each other. And now I know that it looks kind of funky at the beginning right now, but trust the process, and it's actually going to look really, really nice when it all turns out at the end. And so I'm just going to repeat this process again in another page. So as you can see, we're going to have multiple pages with this Dutch door to really create this little mini booklet inside our bullet journal. And I first got this idea to make a little mini notebook from Amanda Rach Lee. I know that she did something similar with her future log in one of her bullet journal setups, so the credit definitely goes to her for this really unique and amazing idea. And if you're someone that's brand new to bullet journaling and you have no idea what a future log is, basically it's a set of pages where you can really plan out your future, hence the term future log. So what I'm gonna do is just make a column for each month of the year, and then I can write any events that I have in the coming months at the space at the bottom for each column of the month. So overall, it's a really great way for you to have an overview of your whole year, and you can really keep track of so many things, whether it's any important milestones, birthdays, events, vacations, deadlines, so much more. It's really up to you in what you want to track in your future log. Now, as I mentioned before, Dutch drawers can be a really great way for you to save a little bit of time in your bullet journal setup. For example, when it comes to doing the overall design of your bullet journal, you can really just make the design once and it's really going to show up in all 3 pages. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just color in the little cloud tabs at the edges of the little booklet, and I'm going to color them in different shades so that they create a really nice gradient when they're layered on top of each other. And you also want to make sure that you're coloring both sides of the tabs. That way, when you're flipping through your little notebook, you'll always have this really cute design no matter what page you're on. And then I'm also going to go ahead and continue the same cloud doodle designs at the bottom of the page as well. As you can see, I only have to do this once and it's going to show up no matter what page I'm on. So that's one of my favorite parts about creating a Dutch door, is it just saves you so much time and you're able to create so many cute designs that shows up in many pages at a time. Something else that you can also add into your bullet journal is also a little legend of the different symbols that you want to include in your future log. So I usually like to keep mine really simple. I like to just have a little base symbol for whatever event is planned, and then over that square I can even make an X or a little arrow if the event was cancelled or moved to a different time. And now all that's left to finish up this spread is to really just add a cute little header and add some finishing details to it. And if you're also deciding to try this out in your own bullet journal and you feel a little bit nervous at the start, I really want you to trust the process. I know that it was really scary for me to try something new like this in my bullet journal as well, but it ended up being one of my favorite pages in my bullet journal. So I hope that you also get the courage to try something new, and I hope you like it as much as I do. Now, before we continue on with our 2023 bullet journal setup, I can't forget one of my favorite tools in my bullet journal, and that's going to be my pop-out grid spacing guide. This is also something that I did in my bullet journal setup last year, and I found that it worked so well. I initially saw this idea from another YouTuber called Junie's Sun Studio, so I definitely recommend you check her out as well. But essentially, it's just going to be a little tool that's really going to help you out when creating the other layouts in your bullet journal setups in the future. So one of the first things that I like to do when setting this up is just writing down the amount of squares that is inside one page from top to bottom. So I'm using an A5 bullet journal, so there's typically 38 squares in this type of notebook, and then from there I really want to separate it out and count how many squares it will take to separate this page into 2 sections, 3 sections, 4 sections, or 7 sections. This is typically the most common types of divisions that I use when it comes to my day-to-day layouts, so you can definitely copy the same measurements that I have here if you're also using an A5 bullet journal. And then I'm just gonna do the same exact thing horizontally, so I'm gonna number the pages from side to side, and then from there I'm gonna make the number of divisions to divide this into 2 sections, 3 sections, 4 sections, and 7 sections as well. And so anytime I'm creating a Dutch drawer in my bullet journal, I really like to keep the scrap paper that I cut out of my bullet journal just to save it to create little tools like this, or even use those paper to cover up any mistakes in my bullet journal if ever I need to. I always find it super handy to have some extra spare dot grid paper, and you can even use it to experiment any little drawings before you try it out in your bullet journal if you have these extra paper lying around as well. And what I really like about this tool is that you really just need to count all of these measurements once at the beginning when you're setting it up, and then it saves you so much time whenever you're setting up your bullet journal in the future weeks. All you need to do is just refer back into this little tool that you made, and then you're good to go without needing to count every single time. And depending on on the bullet journal notebook that you have, a lot of brands have a little pocket in the back of your bullet journal. So once you finish creating your little grid spacing guide, you can either put it in the back pocket. Most of the time, the back pocket is a little bit smaller, so the whole page might not fit into this little pocket. So what I like to do instead is just tape it into the front cover of my bullet journal. And I find this to be so convenient because you could just flip it outwards whenever you need to use it, and it's always going to be visible for you no matter what page in your bullet journal you're on. Now, something else that you could do is that you can even just remove this washi tape and bring it with you to your next bullet journal. So it's definitely something that you can keep reusing over and over again once you create it once the first time. So it might be a little bit tricky for you to get the perfect placement in your washi tape at the beginning, but once you get it right, it's so good. I find it to be really sturdy as well because most of the time it's just closed in your bullet journal. I did this for my bullet journal setup last year and it was so useful. I never had any issues with it, and it's definitely one of my favorite things to have in my bullet journal. Now, the next page that I'm gonna create in my 2023 bullet journal setup is also another one that I did last year, and it's gonna be a page called When Did I Last? And basically, it's a great page for you to be able to keep track of the last time that you did something. And I found this to be really helpful last year because it really helped me stay on top of everything. So for example, I would track things such as cleaning and vacuuming. And by being able to see when was the last time I did certain things, it really helped me stay on top of things and not go too long without cleaning or vacuuming. And sometimes, these things can really fall in the back of our minds and sometimes we might forget about it. So having a visual representation of how long was the last time you did something can really motivate you to get back onto those habits. It was also really helpful for me because I also wanted to focus on reducing my shopping. I noticed that I ended up to browse online shopping every time I was feeling bored, and so by being able to have a visual representation of how often I was doing this thing, it definitely made me become more aware of my habits, and that awareness itself really helped me to reduce my spending and be more conscious of when I'm doing it rather than just shopping out of habit or out of boredom. So I definitely recommend you trying this out in your bullet journal if ever there are specific habits that you want to focus on doing less of, or even some habits that you want to do more of. So for example, this year I also want to focus on tracking my relationships and decluttering, so making sure that I'm also spending a lot of time with my friends and family, and also making the time to declutter and get rid of some of my physical items that I might not use all the time. And it's super simple. All you want to do is write a letter for each month of the year, and then you're gonna write 1 to 31 from top to bottom, and this is gonna represent the days of the year. So basically, anytime that you did something that falls into that category, you can just draw the little icon that you designated towards that action, and it's really gonna give you a really good snapshot of how often you do these actions. And because I have a lot of things that I want to track that doesn't just fit into these two pages, I'm also going to cut this into a Dutch door and make the similar page on the page right behind it as well. And so I'm going to follow the same exact process, and you can do this as much as you want depending on how many things you want to track. So when it comes to these When Did I Last columns that we just created, I like to use this when it's something that happens multiple times a year or something that might even happen on a monthly basis. But for something that happens way less often than that, then I also like to create a little yearly tracker for that as well. So this might be something that you only do once a year, twice a year, or even 4 times a year, but it's also still a really great way for you to keep track of everything that you did. So what I like to do is just list out all of the items or tasks that I do that is less frequently, and then I'm gonna create different columns for each item to be able to mark down when was the last time I did those actions. And then you can even create how many columns is needed for you to complete that action within the year. So if it's something that you need to do twice a year, then you can dedicate to create 2 columns for it. And so every time that you see this page and you see that it's empty, it's really gonna remind you and motivate you to do that action that you need to do for that year. And so as you can see, it's a super simple spread to create, and let me know what type of yearly tasks that you like to keep track of in your bullet journal. I left a lot of spots empty because I'm not really sure what else I want to track so far, but let me know in the comments down below and maybe we can give each other some ideas for things to keep track of in our bullet journal. And because we created another Dutch door for our previous pages, we can also decorate this page once, and it's also going to show up in the previous page as well when we flip the Dutch door. So I'm just going to go on and add some little cloud doodles at the top of the page. Again, I really want that cartoonish look, so I'm just going to play around with different shapes of the cloud bubbles, and it's super simple to do, and then you can just do this once and then it's going to show up on the other pages as well. I really want to keep this section colorful to really give it a pop, because some of the previous pages for the When Did I Last column was pretty simple, and so this is going to give it some contrast. Now, typically the next page I would create in my bullet journal setup would be a goals page, but in 2023 a lot of my goals are going to be focused on finances, and I'm actually creating a whole bullet journal that is dedicated to my finances, so make sure you subscribe if you're interested in that video as well, because that's going to be a whole completely separate bullet journal setup. But something else that I do want to challenge myself with is to be a little bit more adventurous. I feel like the lockdown really made me become a person that is so used to routines. I would go to the same restaurants and order the same thing over and over again, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I used to be a really big foodie, and I used to really love experimenting with new foods and trying out new restaurants, and I just really wanted to re-spark that excitement in myself, and I really wanted to just focus on exploring my city more and really just getting the chance to explore more restaurants and more new places. And so something that I want to try for 2023 is to just create a little challenge for myself, and it's gonna be 23 tasty treats to try in 2023. Now that really felt like a little tongue twister. It was really hard to say really quickly, but it's a simple spread to create. I just wanted to create 23 little bubbles, and I actually created an extra one just to make it symmetrical, and in these bubbles I can write down all of the new things that I tried and maybe even a little rating to see if I liked it or not. And you can definitely customize this to keep track of whatever goals it is that you want to try in 2023. And I think it's always fun just to give yourself a little challenge every year. So I hope you guys enjoyed this 2023 bullet journal setup, and I hope you were able to get some ideas and inspiration for your own bullet journal. If you made it to the very end, leave me a cloud emoji so I know who my bullet journal besties are. And if this was your first time seeing a Dutch door bullet journal setup and you're really curious to see how you can include it in your weekly spreads, make sure to check out this video next, where I show you 5 different ideas with Dutch doors.